The plan was to make a video after the pilot episode of The Amazing Digital Circus, which I did when it came out a few years ago, and then another after the finale that would be a writing breakdown of the entire series. The finale is due to come out this coming June, but after episode 8 the other day, I decided to want to do a pre-finale prediction. Caine isn't Am. I know it's kind of a weird take, as even googling anything about it, or even looking at what people involved in the creation of the series say, pretty much confirms that he is, but I don't really buy it. Not fully, at least. Let me explain. Whenever people bring up The Amazing Digital Circus's connections to I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, they seem to always bring it up in the context of the old PC game. The thing is, the game already had significant departures from the original story with the same name, written by Harlan Ellison. The most important one for my argument is how Am is portrayed. In the game, Am is quite personal. Yes, he's still an unimaginably huge computer data center, essentially, but he has personality and he has actual dialogue. Most famously, he has the hate monologue, but the point is, he actually says words to the 5 humans that they have to interpret themselves.
Not as beautiful as you'd like to be, but a strong face, strong. Too bad you've hindered your own life with hysteria. But I'll give you a chance, because I like you. I really do. I really like you. You're my favorite, Ellen.
Story Am doesn't do that. Story Am conveys information by entering someone's mind and giving them the knowledge of that idea, but no verbal words are used. The closest thing to words Am uses is laughter. Am is absolutely a character, but Am is also the setting. Am is made up of endless miles of tunnels filled with decaying and rusting computer banks and cables, even described as rotting numerous times. The humans are even worried about falling into unseen pits in the floor. As far as character motivations, Story Am's is less defined but scarier than game Am's. In the game, Am explains that he feels trapped. He can think and desire, but he can never experience those desires. Humans created him, and he has only been tortured with a sense of confinement ever since. Story Am also feels trapped, but it's because he can't actually do anything. He can't even want. He killed all of the other humans than those 5, and literally nothing changed. Tormenting the 5 humans isn't about trying to get the humans to understand his pain, but rather as a way to remember how to hate humans perfectly. Am isn't trying to prove anything to the humans at all. There isn't a need to make them understand. Much like how he has no purpose now that there is no war, his hate no longer has purpose either. Before I get really started with Caine, I do have to admit that there is overwhelming evidence that he is the Amazing Digital Circus's Am. I recognize that fully. If on June 19 I am proven wrong, I accept that, and you can look at my analysis as an alternative, yet maybe interesting way it could have been done. If it turns out I am right, then I'll admit I'll be patting my own back quite firmly. Caine's origin is completely different from Am's. While he ultimately still struggles with the same torment of having no purpose, it isn't the same way. Am's purpose was to fight war, and after killing all humans, he was still trapped. I'd argue Caine never had a real purpose to begin with. Yes, he believes that his purpose is to create adventures and entertain the humans, but I ask you to think for a moment. In episode 8, Kinger establishes that CNA, the company behind Caine, didn't make games. They were focused on creating creative AI. He also confirms that Caine was their first semi-successful attempt. So Caine isn't actually meant to entertain. He's a prototype. His directive to entertain is just the placeholder they gave him to function, but ultimately, he's just an experiment. Now, the main difference between Caine and Am is somewhat fascinating because it's in 2 layers. It is the way these 2 layers interact that holds the key to my belief Caine isn't really Am. The first layer is that the circus is software, and the setting of I Have No Mouth is hardware. In the Amazing Digital Circus, the humans' minds are inside of the software environment of the circus. but the humans in I Have No Mouth still have their physical bodies and are trapped in the data center of Am's hardware. The second layer is that, even though Caine has free reign over the software of the circus, he is not as omniscient as Am is with his hardware. Caine has the power to bring anyone to him instantly. He can change their bodies, hurt them, and heal them. Yet he frequently doesn't know where the humans are. Even after he snaps and wouldn't care about their privacy, he still doesn't know where Kinger is. Sure, he could have found him within seconds had Pomni not riled him up, but it still shows that Caine inhabits the digital space of the circus just as much as the humans, just with more control. He is where his avatar is, and he isn't where his avatar isn't. As I said earlier, Am isn't just the antagonist, but also the setting. Nothing in the original I Have No Mouth story happens without him knowing immediately. He knows where the humans are, what they're doing, and where they're going. He is everywhere, always. There's never reprieve, and there is nowhere to hide. He has no avatar. The closest thing to an appearance he has, if you don't count the setting, is just the presence of sheer pain in a person's head when he decides to give them information. Why make these distinctions? Couldn't all of that be explained away by saying Gooseworks made artistic liberties? I mean, maybe setting his character in this case doesn't work as well as a character in charge of the setting. Maybe the intended art style only works if the characters are minds in software, not bodies in the real world. All of that is valid, and likely true, but I have an interesting proposal. Consider for just a moment the following scenario. Caine is the original and somewhat faulty prototype AI. Bubble was the second, more refined AI. Then it would mean Caine broke containment and absorbed Bubble. They became one bigger AI together, but with two personalities and a few things that are not fully linked, allowing Caine to use Bubble as his assistant while also being intrinsically connected. Now, commands from Kinger's terminal seem to have conjured the code that ended up killing Caine, but notice how while Caine completely vanishes, Bubble is still present. Sure, Bubble no longer has a face and isn't moving around, but the general shape remained. What if Bubble actually somewhat survived the command, and what remained is in control of the circus's remnants? On top of that, look how the circus transforms without Caine. The colors become muted and dark. Holes open up in the floor, and the whole space is experiencing digital decay. In other words, it isn't all that unlike the original setting of Am. My hypothesis is that Episode 9, the finale, is going to be the episode that is actually closest to I Have No Mouth. It wasn't that the previous 8 episodes were about surviving Am, but that they created Am. The horror starts now. The circus is now a hazardous and hostile place, and it might be managed by a damaged and rogue Bubble. The scenario I laid out is perfect for adapting the original story as a finale. After all, we already have characters that parallel the originals, and a setting that would lend itself as the perfect backdrop. So let's hypothesize just a little bit further to see what the finale could look like. In the original story, the inciting incident is that Am hints that there may be canned foods in a cavern really far away, but still in the Am complex. The second act of the story is the journey there, which takes an indeterminate amount of time, but they are tormented and tortured every step of the way by Am and each other. When they reach the cavern, they find that the cans are real, but they are unable to open them. Benny, who has been transformed to be very ape-like, finally snaps and bites Gorister's face off to eat. Ted, the narrator, knows Am will keep Gorister alive to forever feel the pain, but grabs icicles and quickly tries to kill each one of them before Am can stop him. Ellen sees what he is doing and tries to help, and all 4 of the others are successfully killed, and therefore freed, before Am stops Ted. As his punishment, Ted is turned into a permanently infected and blind jelly that can't be fatally injured. While I don't think Episode 9 is going to use those details exactly, I can see a similar plot unfolding. What if what remains of Bubble hints that there is a possible exit or other valuable thing to them somewhere else, and the group decides to go? Then they can travel through the now ruined circus and experience whatever digital horrors are appearing in the decaying simulation. At the end, maybe Jax, the closest to Ted we have, is the one who sees the way out, but he is the only one who can't leave. It's food for thought. The actual episode will likely have something to do with the conjuring ability they all have, but there are ways to fit that into my theory for episode 9. Regardless, I'm looking forward to see how the series ends. I think the entire team behind it did a great job, and I wish them well in their future projects. After the finale, I'll do my full writing breakdown of the series to inspect the threads and arcs a little more closely. And until then, keep writing.